Turn on the faucet in your kitchen. The clean water flows instantly, but that convenience is a dangerous illusion of safety. Behind the metal tap is a fragile, heavily centralized web of municipal treatment plants, massive electrical turbines, and thousands of miles of vulnerable PVC piping. If the power grid goes down, your city water stops. If you live rurally and rely on a private well, your 220-volt submersible electric pump immediately becomes a useless plastic tube sitting in a hole. Water is the most fundamental requirement for human survival, and yet, the vast majority of modern society is entirely dependent on a switch they do not control and a grid they do not own. But if you walk through the dense, wooded valleys of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, far away from the paved roads and municipal water towers, you will hear a strange, rhythmic sound echoing through the trees. It sounds like a slow, mechanical heartbeat. It never stops. Not in the dead of night, not during a regional blackout, not during a hurricane. Follow that sound to the edge of a moving creek, and you will find a small piece of cast iron machinery bolted securely to a rock. There are no power lines running to it. There are no solar panels. There are no gas tanks. Yet, this machine is silently pushing thousands of gallons of fresh water hundreds of feet straight uphill, supplying an entire Amish farm, dairy, and homestead with endless pressurized water. They are utilizing a gravity engine. It is a system of fluid dynamics so brilliantly simple that the modern utility industry has spent the last century pretending it does not exist. If you are starting to realize that true independence means absolutely controlling your own water supply, you need to hit the subscribe button right now. Because the 200-year-old blueprint I am about to show you completely dismantles the municipal water monopoly. To understand why this zero-watt engine feels like suppressed knowledge, we have to look at the origins of the technology. The machine is formally known as a hydraulic ram pump. The physics behind it were perfected in 1796 by a French inventor named Joseph Michel Montgolfier. By the mid-1800s, before the electrical grid was even a concept, these heavy iron workhorses were the absolute backbone of American agriculture. They were prominently featured in the Sears Roebuck catalog. They watered the nation. But when the massive, centralized utility companies formed in the early 20th century, the ram pump became a massive liability to their business model. You cannot meter a river. You cannot charge a monthly fee for gravity. The municipal water authorities needed citizens hooked to their pressurized, chemically treated pipelines to justify their infrastructure and guarantee their revenue streams. So, the ram pump was quietly phased out of agricultural education and hardware stores. Local zoning boards and water authorities began strictly regulating riparian rights, the legal right to use the water flowing through your own property. They made it legally complex and administratively exhausting to install off-grid water systems near streams, claiming it was for environmental protection. The practical result was forcing generations of Americans to simply tap into the city line and accept the monthly bill. But the Amish, shielded by agricultural exemptions and a fierce commitment to off-grid survival, never threw their iron pumps away. So, how exactly do you push water uphill without a single watt of power? The secret lies in weaponizing a destructive force of nature that modern plumbers spend all their time trying to prevent. The water hammer. When you turn off a faucet very quickly in a modern house, you might hear a loud, violent bang in the walls. That is the kinetic energy of moving water suddenly slamming into a closed valve. Water is incredibly heavy. At over 8 pounds per gallon, moving water carries massive momentum. Modern plumbing uses expensive air arresters to absorb this shock so it doesn't blow the pipes apart. The Amish gravity engine does the exact opposite. It intentionally creates that violent kinetic shockwave and uses it as an invisible piston. The setup requires only one natural resource, a creek, stream, or spring with a slight downhill flow. That flow is the Fuel. The Amish builder runs a smooth pipe, called the drive pipe, from the elevated water source down a slight incline to the cast iron ram pump sitting below. As gravity pulls the water down the drive pipe, the water picks up speed and massive momentum. It rushes into the body of the pump and flows freely out of an open, spring-loaded valve called the waste valve. But this rushing water does not just spill out into the creek forever. The water is accelerating. It is building toward a critical, violent threshold that is about to trigger the heartbeat of the engine, capturing the weight of the river and forcing it straight up the mountain. As the water accelerates through the drive pipe and rushes out of the open waste valve, it reaches a precise, critical velocity. At that exact millisecond, the friction of the rushing water grabs the valve flap and violently snaps it shut. In that fraction of a second, the water has nowhere to go. You have hundreds of pounds of liquid moving at high speed that is suddenly stopped dead. The kinetic energy is instantly converted into a massive, explosive spike of static pressure. This is the water hammer. In a modern home, this force would blow your PVC pipes to pieces. But inside the heavy cast iron belly of the Amish gravity engine, this violent pressure spike is harnessed. With the primary exit slammed shut, the pressure has only one path of escape. It forces open a second, hidden internal valve, the delivery valve. A pulse of high-pressure water violently shoots upward
the pressure has
valve
only one path
and
of escape.
into a sealed,
it forces open a second,
chamber.
hidden in.
Here is where the genius of 18th century physics truly shines. This iron dome is not empty. It is filled with trapped atmospheric air. As you may remember from high school science, water cannot be compressed, but air can. As the pulse of water blasts into the dome, it crushes the trapped air upward, compressing it like a tightly coiled steel spring. As soon as the kinetic energy of the water hammer is absorbed, the pressure drops. The delivery valve instantly snaps shut, trapping the water inside the dome. Simultaneously, the main waste valve falls open again, and the water in the creek begins to accelerate down the pipe once more to restart the cycle. But inside that sealed iron dome, the magic is already happening. That highly compressed spring of air pushes back down against the trapped water. It forces the water out of the dome and up a small, secondary pipe leading directly up the hill to the farm. And when I say up, I mean straight up into the sky. A properly tuned Amish hydraulic ram pump operates on a remarkable 1:10 ratio. For every 1 foot of vertical drop in the creek, the compressed air chamber can push water 10 feet vertically up a mountain. If an Amish farmer has a creek with just a 10-foot waterfall, that silent, 0-watt engine will push a steady stream of water 100 feet vertically to a holding tank at the top of the property. It does this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It requires no fuel. It requires no solar panels. The only maintenance is occasionally replacing a 50-cent rubber gasket once a decade. The water that isn't pushed up the hill simply flows freely out the waste valve and continues down the creek, completely unharmed. It is the closest thing to a perpetual motion machine ever created by human hands, and it runs entirely on the free, infinite power of gravity. So why did a machine that provides infinite, free, pressurized water vanish from the American landscape? The answer lies in the aggressive expansion of the municipal utility monopolies in the early 20th century. As cities and suburbs grew, local governments quickly realized that water was the ultimate taxable commodity. But to charge citizens for water, you first have to convince them they cannot get it themselves. You cannot attach a digital meter to gravity, and you cannot shut off a creek if a family misses a payment. To consolidate control, local health departments and zoning boards began an aggressive campaign of regulatory capture. They drafted new municipal codes heavily restricting riparian rights, the legal right of a property owner to use the surface water flowing across their land. They classified all creeks, springs, and surface water as biologically hazardous, for human consumption, legally requiring all residential homes to either connect to the city's chemically treated water main or drill an expensive, electrified deep casing well. The gravity engine wasn't outlawed by name. It was simply legislated into irrelevance by mandating that no new home could be issued a certificate of occupancy if it relied on surface water pumping. The city positioned itself as the sole provider of safe water, and we surrendered our independence for the convenience of a tap. But the Amish, living deep in the valleys of Ohio and Pennsylvania, refused to surrender their creeks. Because they do not rely on municipal zoning permits for their traditional structures, they simply ignored the city planners. But when modern regulators occasionally try to force the Amish onto the grid, citing health codes and residential water mandates, the Amish deploy a brilliant, completely legal workaround: the agricultural exemption. If a county inspector visits an Amish homestead and points a clipboard at the cast iron ram pump thumping away in the creek, the farmer simply smiles. He explains that the water being pushed 100 feet up the hill into that massive 1,000-gallon holding tank isn't for human consumption. It is strictly livestock water for the dairy cows and the draft horses. Under federal and state agricultural laws, the county health department has absolutely zero jurisdiction over how a farmer waters his cattle. The inspector is forced to leave. But once that massive holding tank at the top of the hill is full, gravity takes over again. That tank feeds high-pressure water directly back down the hill. It fills the cattle troughs, yes, but it also seamlessly pipes directly into the farmhouse. They have bypassed the multi-billion-dollar water grid using a 200-year-old iron bell, a creek, and a legal loophole designed for livestock. But getting the water into the farmhouse is only the first step of the secret. Once that untreated surface water is inside, how does an Amish family make it perfectly safe to drink without using city chlorine or electric UV filters? To understand how the Amish safely purify raw, untreated surface water without a single drop of chemical chlorine or a watt of UV radiation, you have to look at a biological paradox. They use dirt to clean water. If you walk into the basement or utility room of a traditional off-grid homestead, you won't find complex reverse osmosis membranes or expensive, proprietary carbon filters that need to be replaced every 3 months. You will find a large, food-grade barrel or a poured concrete cistern filled with carefully layered earth. This is the Biosyn filter, and it operates on a physical principle first engineered for municipal use by a Scottish visionary named John Gibb in 1804. Long before modern chemical treatment plants existed, this exact system provided safe drinking water for entire European cities. The filter is remarkably simple to build, but the physics inside are incredibly complex. The bottom layer consists of large gravel to protect the outlet pipe. Above that sits a layer of coarse sand, and finally, a deep, thick top layer of extremely fine, sifted sand. When the high-pressure water from that gravity-fed tank on the hill enters the top of the barrel, it does not just fall through the sand. It stops. The water level is maintained about 2 inches above the top of the sand layer, keeping it permanently submerged. Within a few weeks of operation, a miraculous transformation occurs in those top 2 inches. A dense, microscopic ecosystem forms, a living biological zone that German scientists in the 19th century named the Schmutzdeck, or the dirt cover. This layer is essentially a microscopic, hungry army. As fresh creek water enters the barrel, the Schmutzdeck actively consumes and destroys up to 99.9% of all biological pathogens, harmful bacteria, and parasites. What survives the biological war zone at the top is then pushed slowly down through the fine sand layer, where electrostatic charges physically strip heavy metals and sediment from the liquid. What emerges from the spout at the bottom of the barrel is crystalline, perfectly pH-balanced, naturally mineralized drinking water. It tastes like water from a pristine mountain spring, because functionally, it is. The BIOS and filter has absolutely zero moving parts. It requires no electricity. The filter cartridge is a living organism that maintains itself indefinitely. You simply scrape the top inch of sand off once a year. But drinking cold water is only a fraction of survival. How do you get high pressure, scalding hot water for showers, and cleaning if you refuse to install an electric or gas water heater?
This is where the entire Amish off-grid ecosystem comes full circle, connecting the water directly to the heating system we exposed in our very first video.
The high-pressure, gravity-fed water from the 1,000-gallon Hill tank is piped directly into a heavy copper coil, known as a water jacket, built directly into the side of the masonry heater or wood stove. As the family burns their daily load of scrap wood to heat the house, the water inside that copper jacket flash heats. Through the ancient physics of thermosiphoning, the hot water naturally rises, again, without a single electric pump, into a heavily insulated holding tank on the second floor. Because the entire system is being pushed by the massive gravity pressure from the main Hill tank outside, when an Amish farmer turns on the shower valve, he isn't getting a weak, trickling camp shower. He is getting 50 psi of scalding hot water, driven entirely by gravity and heated entirely by scrap wood. A modern home requires a massive, complex network of public utilities just to wash a dish. The Amish achieve superior pressure and infinite hot water using nothing but the elevation of the land, the thermodynamics of fire, and the biology of the earth. So why is the BIOS and filter and the off-grid gravity pump treated like contraband by local municipalities? In 1974, the federal government passed the Safe Drinking Water Act. On the surface, it was a necessary step to stop massive corporations from dumping industrial waste into public reservoirs. But in practice, it handed absolute, unchecked authority over water safety to centralized municipal agencies. Zoning boards used the strict new codes to aggressively restrict residential rainwater harvesting, surface water pumping, and natural filtration. By declaring that only chemically treated city water was legally safe, for a certificate of occupancy, they permanently tied your property value to their utility grid. They designed a system where independence is coded as a health violation. But a municipal water grid is only as strong as the electrical grid that powers it. In a severe regional blackout, a cyber attack on infrastructure, or a natural disaster, those massive municipal pumps fail. When the city pressure drops to zero, the chemical treatment stops, the lines run dry, and millions of people immediately find themselves in a desperate survival situation. But on the Amish farm, the cast iron ram pump in the creek keeps thumping. The gravity tank stays full. The schmutz deck keeps eating pathogens. The hot water keeps flowing. They are immune to the collapse of the modern world because they never hooked themselves up to it in the first place. The $0 Amish gravity engine isn't just a clever plumbing trick. It is a declaration of independence. I want to hear from you down in the comments. If the municipal water grid in your city completely shut down tomorrow, how many days could your household comfortably survive? Be honest, because realizing your vulnerability is the absolute first step toward fixing it. If you are tired of living at the mercy of systems you don't control, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We are building the ultimate archive of off-grid sovereignty here on Amish Secrets. Next week, we are leaving the water behind and diving deep into the earth to uncover the 200-year-old Amish thermal pantry, a 0-watt underground preservation vault that keeps meat and dairy perfectly cold for 3 years, and why the appliance industry desperately hopes you never learn how to dig one. You won't want to miss it.